This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 69.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 69, and in today's episode, we will be talking about content creation, the importance of content, the quality of content. And I picked this very subject for this episode because I often get questions about it through my email and comments, because if you know me well enough, you know that I always talk about high quality content, producing good quality content through my blog, through the podcast as well, through my free email course at the Extra Paycheck blog. And people often ask, what exactly do you mean by high quality content? What is it? What defines the quality of the content, and how do you make good quality content as opposed to making bad quality content, I guess? So let's begin with the importance of content and why content is so important to me personally. As you know, most of my traffic comes from organic search results, from SEO, from things like that. So first thing first, if you want to rank in Google, if you want to rank well, you need to produce high quality content. You need to have a kind of content that people like, that is gives something new, gives something original, something fresh to your reader, and it has to be written fairly well. I try to aim as far as I can to create as much of great content as I possibly can. And sometimes it's really, really hard to create good content, but I try really hard. And I've noticed that the more high quality content I create, the better rankings I get. So to answer the very first question, do I need to have content in order to make money online, in order to run my website, have a successful website? My answer is usually yes. You do need high quality content, and my answer is such because this is how I get my traffic. This is how I started my business back in 2007, 2008, when I just started affiliate marketing. It was all about creating content and getting free traffic because of that content. Now, you can pay for traffic, but that's completely different story. And once again, even if you pay for traffic and you get people come to your website and what they see on your website is not something they like, for instance, if your content is not of high quality, if your content is not interesting, or if it's basic online store or sales page, chances are people will not buy whatever you're selling, or will not sign up to whatever you're trying to promote. So in the end, content is extremely important, no matter what you're trying to do online. If you can't create great content, you need to hire someone to do that content for you. But in the end, you do need high quality, great content. That's, to me, it's really, really important. And this is why I suggest the same thing to everyone else. Now, ranking on search engines such as Google, it's another story as well, and there's so much that goes into that, and nobody can ever guarantee that you will rank well with a certain piece of content, with an article or with the video, whatever that you're producing. But it is worth trying, and it is worth looking into and try to figure out which pieces of articles do well, which videos do well, and why they are ranking so highly. So maybe you could kind of figure out what you should be doing with your content and what you should be improving on your end to get that chance of ranking well, and to get the chance of people sharing your stuff and commenting and liking because it's that good. So let's move on into content creation. First of all, when I say content, I usually mean articles and blog posts and whatever text kind of content. But it doesn't have to be only that. It could be in video format, it could be in audio format, like this very podcast. It is content as well, but this is audio format for the podcast. There are many different formats that you could create content in, but text being one of the most important ones once again, in my case, because I do have a blog, and because one of the best ways of transmitting your knowledge and your experience to people is through text, still in 2016, yes. And let me tell you, content creation, especially article writing, was something that took me quite a long time to figure out. It took me years, to be honest, for many different reasons. One of the reasons being that English is not my first language, neither it's second or even third. So my English was really, really bad when I started, and it took me a lot of time to kind of practice it and figure out the words that I want to use, find my voice, and to kind of start writing the same way I speak, because this is when it comes out more naturally. When I try to write articles using some super smart words and these expressions that I don't use in daily life, in my personal life, then those articles read pretty fake and just weird. It wasn't flowing naturally. And eventually when I started writing kind of the way I speak, that's when things started changing for me. So for instance, when I write an article, I imagine that I have a friend sitting in front of me and I'm trying to explain something to him. Let's say, what is affiliate marketing? Let's say this is the subject of my article. And I could go into some very deep things, especially now that I know a lot on the subject, but I would try to keep it very interesting yet simple at the same time, because I'm trying to explain it to my friend who does not have a single idea of what it is. So that's what I do when I write articles. I try to imagine that this is the person, that my friend is in front of me and I'm trying to explain it to him. And this makes, I guess this keeps an article easy to read and kind of easy to follow and to understand, because I'm not going too deep into certain things. Yet I do try to make it as detailed as possible, just because, in my opinion, that's exactly what makes great content. For instance, one of my articles that I mentioned several times before, that it's a tutorial that I posted on Extra Paycheck blog, how to start your own podcast. And that article is about 7,000 words long. That's a mini novel. And there isn't anything incredibly technical in that article, but I go in detail, in depth in how to set up a podcast, and I explain every single thing. So whenever I do talk about something more technical or something that's hard to understand, I include an explanation of why exactly you're doing this and how it's done easily, in a way. So I try to explain every little detail with more details, and this is how that article ended up being 7,000 words long. It got a lot of traction, it got a lot of shares, and it's still bringing a lot of traffic to my website, because once again, it's a great piece of content that people really like, because someone who wants to start a podcast, there's so many different articles and many of them are incomplete. Some of them are just too complicated and you get lost. You start reading it and then you don't understand where it's going, or you kind of get lost after the first paragraph. So I try to make an article that's better than everything else out there. I don't know if I succeeded but I really, really tried, and I am really happy with the result. So here is one of the tips for creating articles. If you want to write a good quality content, select your keyword phrase, your main subject, the main subject of your article, and put it into the Google search. Hit the search button and read through the first 10 or 20 articles. So look up the first 10 results that are going to come up and read all of them. Let's get a very specific example. Let's say you want to write an article on how to train your dog, or how to train a Dalmatian. Type that into Google, and the first 10 articles that come up, open each and single one of them and read through them. Look how they write, look how long the content is, how many words they have in that article. Do they have images in that article? How many comments they have from readers on that article? And now figure that if you want to have a chance of ranking well on Google, or forget about ranking, if you want to write good, high quality content, your article has to be better than any other article in the top 10 of Google search results. It has to be more interesting, it has to be more detailed, it has to be more complete, it needs to have more graphics or pictures or whatnot. And, if you could include a video, great, do that. But this is what you're aiming for. This is how most of the time you could understand what is a high quality article for a very specific niche or your specific term. Just look up and what's ranking well on Google search. And those articles are there. I'm talking about the organic results, not the paid results. The organic results, they're there for reasons, because Google decided that their quality is really, really good. This means that people like the article. It means that it's long enough. It means that there's probably enough interaction with the website from the user. So Google kind of gives you a hint saying, this is a good article on this subject. So if you want to create a good article, it has to be at least as good as this one, but you should aim for better than the number one spot on Google. This is how you figure out what is high quality content. Now, you can't really steal high quality content, because I have this question asked a lot as well, and I don't understand why people still asking it. I'm very clear on that. Do not copy paste other people's articles. Do not go find the book on a very specific subject and just retype a paragraph or a chapter from that book. No, you have to create your own content, and you have to actually sit down and do it. Or you could pay someone once again to do it. But if we're going into paid content, that's a whole different story, and paid content is also extremely difficult to produce because, well, first of all, if you want really high quality content, it will not cost you $3, $5, or $10 per article. You'll probably be paying $100 per article or more for really high quality content stuff. And even if the money is not an issue, you'll have to find perfect person to write that article for you. It's not everyone who not everyone is an expert in your niche or the subject that you want an article on. So you'll spend a lot of time looking for that very perfect person who will be able to write very perfect article on your subject, and then you'll have to pay them pretty decent money for that article. So I guess it's pretty clear that you are the one that has to learn how to produce this kind of content. And I know it sounds bad and you just wanted to find an easy way out, and you might be looking for a shortcut, kind of a quick way to write good content, but you can't. It's something that takes time. It's something that takes practice and a lot of patience as well. On top of all that, when you do create amazing article, there's no guarantees that it will attract people, that it will rank well, or they will produce any kind of results for you. So that's something that's a risk in a way that we have to take in this kind of business, in online business. You just keep creating and you hope that it'll get better, and you will get better with time, and your articles, you'll see that they will get more and more people looking at them. With time, you will start getting better rankings, but you have to be consistent and you have to keep creating this great content. And for some people, I know it's also very frustrating. They might spend a year creating great content on the blog, and the results will be far less than what they expected. They would still be getting only a few people per day coming to their website. But that's also part of the game. This business takes time to grow, and as long as you don't give up, eventually it will start working out for you. But you'll have to keep writing, keep trying to figure out what you're doing wrong. Okay, so you wrote that amazing piece of content, yet nobody's reading it. Why? Just writing is not enough. These days, you also have to put in marketing promotion for your article. So you'll have to probably reach out to others and tell them about that article. You'll have to share it wherever you could share it, but share it smart, don't spam. And there's so much more that goes into that goes into the whole business. But this episode is about content in itself and not content promotion. So let's stick to content. Another thing that I wanted to mention when you are creating amazing content, so let's say a blog post or an article of some sort. So you wrote this very, very great article. Don't let it die on your blog. You could repurpose that content into a video, into audio, into an ebook, into a PDF giveaway of some sort, and many, many, many other formats. So you could simply read out your article and record your voice, and then and then share that audio file. You could make a YouTube clip with the same content, and that's also something that is easily done with great content and cannot really be done with bad content. So let's say you write a simple, very simple 500-word article on a subject. That's going to be like a few-minute video clip, and it's not going to be interesting, it's not going to be engaging or entertaining. So that's another reason why you should pay attention to the quality of the content. And so yeah, repurposing your content is a really great way to get more people hearing about your website, your product, your services, whatever you're trying to promote. And I'd like to share one last tip on writing great quality content. To me, a good article has to give me something. I need to finish reading it, and I need to feel that I got some value out of it. So try to write articles that are either entertaining or educational or both. So you can't just write basic rehashed information that everybody else knows and everybody else already wrote. You have to add something new to that content. You have to be creative, or at least you have to do a lot of research and try to add in details that most people aren't talking about. If all the details are there and it's very educational, try to think how you can make it more entertaining, more interesting. Maybe put in a few jokes here and there. But once again, it has to suit your personality. Don't just put in jokes because I just told you to put in jokes. If that's your kind of personality, then do go ahead and put something quirky or funny, or something that makes it more entertaining to read, and something that will make your content a little bit more memorable and original as compared to all the other articles out there. And once again, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, do not give up. Practice makes perfection. I know that producing high quality content could be really, really hard and time consuming. I had to go through that, and many of us online marketers had to go through that. We had to invest our time, we had to be patient, and we had to put in a lot of work without seeing any instant rewards. And that's what differentiates people who succeed and people who fail, in my opinion. People who want instant results, then online business is not for you. That's not what you should be doing. If you're willing to put in the time, a lot of time, without seeing any instant results, but you want to build the future and you're looking into a long-term commitment and to a long-term business, then yeah, by all means, go ahead, start producing your content, start building your website, start building your brand, and be patient, because it takes time to see success in this business. All right, so that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for sending in your questions and commenting. This is what gives me the opportunity to answer your questions and to come up with other episodes for podcast. So as usual, I'll be putting up a show notes page at extrapodcast.com/69. Head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes in order to subscribe to the show, leave a rating and a review, which will help me tremendously. And thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.